Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, J.C. Sandoval. He's a fantastic rock vocalist and guitarist from the Toronto music scene. He's been in amazing bands like We the Crooked and Die Mannequin. Right now, he has a new single out called Moonlight with his own project, Sandoval. Let's get into it now with J.C. Sandoval. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about, and it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. Today, we are lucky, excited, thrilled. We have the very experienced, masterful, amazing, electrifying, the very suave, debonair. He's calm, enchanting. The incredible, amazing J.C. Sandoval.
Oh, hey. How are you, man?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah. It's this is amazing what you're doing. This is because like the social media algorithm doesn't kind of hides things from us all the time. Like they only allow you to see like maybe 10% of what things are actually out there, like what your peers are doing. So it's only until like not too long ago that I saw you're doing this. I'm like, whoa, where'd this come from? This is amazing. It's so good. And I, you and I probably met in person maybe one time, right? Like,
yeah.
We've talked to each other over the years, but
it's true.
Yeah, I only know like a dimension of you, or maybe two dimensions of you, and then I get to see this other dimension, and it's very inspiring. It's like this takes a lot of work and takes a certain amount of personality, and it's incredible. It's great to see.
Dude, thank you very much. Honestly, what keeps me going with this right now is the artists. It's you guys, because you've all been so humble. You've all been so professional and equally inspiring right back. I had to take a step back this summer musically and kind of reset, readjust, replan. And this was my stopgap from kind of losing my mind and keeping myself on the track of being productive, and it's been really fun. I'm really lucky to know people to have people like you come on. JC, let me ask you about when we first met. You were in a band called The Crooked, or We the Crooked. And that band is it still going?
No, it's The Crooked was those four guys, myself included. At one point when our drummer left, kind of felt like the chair was missing a leg. It was could kind of still stand, and we had a really great replacement, who's actually Kevin from Jailbirds played drums for us at the end when we were more We the Crooked, and he was great. Great drummer. Like he kicked ass, and him and Russ our bass player Russ played in bands before together, so it was a natural fit. But usually in bands you have like it's like a family dynamic, and in that band I was kind of like dad, and our drummer Del was like mom, so after the divorce, so to speak, it wasn't the same. And I just like, even though I wrote most of the music and I put a lot of work into it, it just didn't feel right. It just felt like would feel strange to replace that family with all these new characters and new family members. It just didn't feel right. And then I was like, I write most of the music, so I might as well just do it the way I want to do it, the way I envisioned in my head. It's in bands, you have to make space for other people's ideas. You have to work as a team. You have to. And then, I don't know, you get to a point where you're like, I wonder what it's going to be like if you just do it the way you hear it. So I'm giving that a shot.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are an awesome band, and we were, I had the privilege of playing with you guys, I think the one time or whatever it might have been, but you guys were super awesome.
That was wicked.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I didn't really know too much what to expect, but I was just like, oh, this guy's voice is crazy, like it's so good. I was I was listening to Taming Sorry not too long ago, and I was like thinking like, for me, especially as a vocalist singer, even before I was a singer, because I had to learn how to sing. That's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, it's always the vocals that really draw me in. Like either that or like a wicked guitar riff, right?
Yes.
That's kind of reflects the music that I like to make. But
Yeah.
with when I heard you sing, I was there's so many dimensions again to what you do. Like there's like that rasp, there's that power, but there's something kind of unique and different that a lot of people don't have, which I think that's
Hey, man.
it's like like opposing kind of traits that make something unique instead of just kind of one-sided, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'll
when
take
you
it.
guys hit the stage, I remember back then yeah, you guys were a bunch of characters, especially Miguel, you know?
Right?
Yeah,
Oh gosh,
yeah.
yes. One of my favorite people of all time. There's no doubt about it. Just
Yeah.
based on character, you know.
Yeah,
And
so you guys, it was wicked. It's like, even though like we played to like ourselves and maybe like 10 people,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. It
um,
was a long. It must have been like 6 years ago, or
something like that. Yeah,
like
yeah.
it would have been quite a while ago.
But it was,
And
yeah, we didn't really know you guys too much, so we didn't know what to expect. And we're like really, really happy and surprised that you guys kicked ass, you know, because you
thanks,
never know.
man.
Like
No,
Alex on bass, like that guy's a wicked bass player, you know?
right? Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
Oh
the whole
yeah.
band sounded good. And then Miguel is like your Keith Richards, so to speak, you know? So
See, you get him. You get Miguel and everything. Like he is you know, he's the heart soul type of guy. He's a glue type of guy. Um, and you just can depend on him in certain ways to always be
yeah. And I
that
don't know,
person.
you guys were a good hang too, and you
Oh,
didn't take
thanks.
yourselves too seriously. Like some bands take themselves way too seriously. And we just bonded immediately. We all went out for drinks afterwards. You guys invited us over to your pad, and
Man, I'll tell you,
it was great.
it was a weird time for me because all those guys were Français. They were, and I was the only English guy, and so the dynamic at that time was interesting. Like they were all new to me. You know, it was a very new experience to me. I didn't know them for years or anything like that. It was just got into it for the music's sake of things. And you know, sometimes like you were talking about band dynamics and how key they are and how critical they are and how they form. And I can't say anything except I agree. Like I really agree that there is something about dynamics which drive a band one way or another.
Yeah,
So let's go back in time. And I think I was trying to imagine you as a kid. I was trying to imagine like young JC. And what were you like? Were you into sports? Were you always into music?
no, I was like, how young are we talking about? Like as a kid,
So
like under 10,
where
adolescence,
were you?
you know.
Where were you
You know,
born?
okay, so I was born in the peaceful country of Costa Rica. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever been. It's
No.
it's a really interesting place, really rich history of they got rid of their army in 1948 after a revolution. They were just like, let's not do this anymore, you know. Let's not have an army. Let's put some money in education. And you know, I've always been proud of, even though it's not really in my control, always very proud that I came from that kind of place, you know, place that um aspires to democracy and diplomacy, and I try to be that person a bit. And I grew up with my grandparents till I was 5 in Costa Rica, while my mom tried to set up her life here. And then I moved with my mom. Me and my biological dad weren't close growing up. He was kind of like an absent father, and he actually great musician. You know, he's like world class jazz musician, and you know, like taught in the United States and stuff. And I was not into music. Maybe subconsciously, that was something I was always trying to avoid because I didn't have that relationship with my dad.
Hmm.
So but I was really close with my grandfather, and he was really into soccer. Loved soccer. Loved, World Cup, the local leagues. I was in the little like soccer school in Costa Rica. Came to Canada. Uh, you know, uh, Growing up, like any other kid, was like into Pokemon and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think like around 10, my grandfather, the guy who I said was, into soccer and stuff, he actually gifted me my first guitar. And it was like
Okay.
it's a little like nylon kind of like classical guitar. And, I liked it. I didn't really know what to do with it. Kind of like strummed it. And like, I remember like just making sounds with it, but I kind of lost interest in it because I didn't really have anyone to inspire me or teach me how to play it. So it kind of just sat there for a bunch of years. And then it wasn't really until at like early teenagehood, late adolescence hit when I remember I was driving around with my aunt, and then I remember my aunt in her teenage years was really into music, like especially rock music, especially like the grunge stuff. And one time driving with her, all I hear is dun, 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 and I was like, what is that? I don't know. It's just like coming of age right then, like teenage angst, smells like Teen Spirit. I heard it. I was like, I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever heard. And then I asked my aunt, like, who is this? She's like, oh, Nirvana. Yeah, he was a very handsome guy, but very sad. He killed himself. I'm like, whoa, and then that immediately I had to go look that up, like started looking into it. And then my friend, family friend of mine came over one time and picked up that guitar I had and was like, oh, I know how to play something on it. And he like started playing the Come As You Are riff, the dun 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 da 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 da. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is like magic or something. Like you're playing this music that I just recently discovered. And I was like, wait, can you show me how to do that? And he showed me, and that's where it started, really.
That's so cool. So a couple of similar themes here that I'm picking up on, that, the family member coming in and like being able to show you just a couple of things. It doesn't have
friend of the family,
friend of the family.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it's like someone comes and they show you just a few things, right? Like it doesn't have to be everything. Like you said, it's inspiration. And that band that hooked you, of course, it hooked millions of other people. You weren't alone in your fascination with those riffs and with what that scene was doing. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible time in music. Mike Penny from the Jailbirds, who was on here a couple episodes, his come to Jesus moment, or whatever you want to call it, his come to rock moment was when he heard AC/DC for the first time. When he heard Thunderstruck. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I needed to know. In that instant, when he was 11 years old, he needed to know how that riff was being played. And it's interesting because for me, I've never been very good at guitar, and it was just never my thing. I did piano when I was younger, and I always had a good ear, and I knew I could sing along with things. Discovering the voice is something I want to get into with you, because you said that's a whole thing where you had to learn and teach yourself. So your first thing obviously is the guitar, your first love, or your first.
Yeah, it all started with the guitar, and riffs in general is like, again, that Smells Like Teen Spirit riff, that Come As You Are riff. And then as many young guitar players learn very on, drop D is a young guitar player's best friend. And you start realizing, wait, if I can just move these shapes around, you get something new. And that's really when I started writing like little riffs here and there. Some of them were probably a little bit stock, obviously, you're starting out. But I was showing my neighbors, my like friends, and they're like, oh, this is really cool. They were into it. I was like, oh, yeah, maybe this is what I do. Maybe I'm a guitar player, and then that's when the obsession really started with, I guess, not just being a guitar player, like learning how to play things that I like to hear, but like, how can I create something new? And that was my thing. I was like, okay, I want to I can write songs this way, you know? I was always very shy about vocalizing and being a singer. I never thought of myself as a singer ever. Like, um, just, I was like, always thought, oh, you know, it's something that you're born with, something that people, you either are a singer. It's not like you can pick up the guitar and start learning. You can't see your vocal instrument. So it didn't make sense to me at the time. So I'm like, I'm just going to be a guitar player. I'll write songs. I liked writing lyrics. They weren't great lyrics at the time because I didn't have any life experience at that point. But I always had a thing for melodies because I guess like some of the influence that I like so much um, were, for me, very melodic writers. Again, going back to Kurt Cobain, very melodic writer. Even if you don't like Nirvana and the sound and music, I know people, to me that's crazy, but like it makes sense. Some people not gonna like what you like, right? But most people can at least, if you play a Kurt Cobain melody, a Nirvana melody on a piano, you know, it's beautiful, you know? And I learned that I could write things, on the guitar. And eventually I met other musicians, other, you know, singers. And I was like, oh, like they're singing my songs and beautifully. It's such a great, great feeling to be part of creation like that. And,
Yeah.
but then, throughout the years, being in bands, being reliant on other people to sing your songs became very frustrating because, you know, like bands don't always work out. People have their own issues. You know, there's a lot of mental illness, a lot of addiction issues, a lot of, sometimes people, very talented people just don't want to do it. They might have the talent, but they might not have the drive, right? The time I'd had the drive, did not have the skills. So songwriter, loved playing guitar, loved writing music, loved lyrics, couldn't sing at all, man. Like it was like,
Interesting.
and then at some point I was like, you know what? I have to at least try. I've heard some people tell me, it's not always you're born with it. You can get better at it. Hey, can you identify these two tones? Okay, you're not tone deaf then. You know, if you can do that, then if you can hear, you can sing. So,
man, you've
I
got
took
a
some
beautiful
lessons.
voice. You've got a beautiful
Yeah,
voice, man.
it's been a long time in the running though. So I took some lessons with a guy named Ryan Luchuk. He in Toronto. Back then, his thing was called voice. Was it? It was like a speaking level voice or something like that. The idea is like if you're using the amount of effort to speak in order to sing. Like it should be that you shouldn't be like having to shout or do anything like that. Since then, I think his theories have evolved. It's been a while since I've seen him, but I started there and I was like, okay, you know, maybe like in a year or two, maybe I can sing my own songs. Maybe it won't be so bad. And then maybe a year went by, 2 years went by, little progress was made, maybe like little steps here and there. Still terrible, you know, like not good enough to front the band, not good enough, but good enough to do some oohs and some ahs, you know, in a backing band. So now I'm like gaining the courage to go, you know, like ooh ah, you know, in backing vocals, you know. Hey,
Where does this courage come from to, like, because every artist has to find this courage to fail, to get up and fail, get up again until they become this artist. They become this thing where you're like, oh wow, they've got a great voice and, you know, they sound great on guitar. Where did you get your drive and your passion and your knowledge? Like, I can go through this and I'm going to improve and I'm going to get where I need to go.
Man, that's a good question. It's looking back, would I have done it all over again? I don't know because I really didn't know. I just had some people who were like, "Hey, you can do this. Like, it might take a while, but worst case, you just get better at it. Maybe you're not going to sing like your previous singer in your band, good, but maybe you'll get halfway there. Maybe you can sing some of your own songs in a different key, you know? Maybe you don't have to hit those high notes. Maybe you can sing it to match your own voice or maybe you can sing backups in a band, like that's actually like, I had a buddy of mine tell me, is like, you get more gigs that way. You can play guitar and you can sing, you're gonna get a lot more gigs. And he was right, because soon after that, I had a band called Savannah. We took a hiatus because our singer left, guy with no great vocals, no drive, absolutely
Okay,
no
yeah.
drive. Um, after that happened, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a hired gun for a while. I don't want to, like, I'm already kind of devastated. I don't want to do this anymore. And like, I'll still write music and I'll work on my voice while I do this, but it's going to be great practice to join another band and do backup vocals. And then I joined a band called Secret Broadcast with, Keith Hepler, who plays now in High Teens. And before that, he was playing in a band called Hot Lips, and before that, he was playing with me in Die Mannequin.
Okay.
And so I met Keith and Matt Lightstone, brilliant songwriter. They took me on board. I was kind of their hired gun guitar player. Started doing backup vocals. They said, "Can you do backup vocals?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can do them." Wasn't very good at them, but I got better at them, and they believed in me. And then eventually, hit the road with them. That was my first time touring Canada. That was with Secret Broadcast, a band that if most people probably don't know, but you should probably go back and look at them because they're really, Matt's a really good songwriter. Some really good songs in there.
So you got to tour with them, you said?
Yeah. We went to, we did a Canadian tour with a band at the time called Go for the Eyes. Probably doesn't exist anymore. But that was my first time seeing the prairies, seeing BC, getting into, tour fun and trouble, and almost hitting a moose and stuff like that. So
what a great experience. And like, so many people who get into bands, that's kind of the dream for them, is to like get on the road and see what it's like, and for you to get to experience it not only that way, but in several different capacities, with different levels of success, and that, like, I get why you're ready to go here with Sandoval, and it's going to do really well, I believe, because of your passion and your drive and your history and where you've been. I think it's going to matter. It's not easy, right? I mean, this is the thing that all artists have to come to terms with. Is it's incredibly. I told somebody on here not long ago, I was like, this is the hardest place, because he was saying he gets promoted a lot, no matter where he works. And I said, this is going to be one of the most difficult places you've worked to get a promotion.
Right.
To jump levels in this industry or in this world of art it's so difficult. And really, you need to be up for it. You need to have all these, everything it's going to take. So let me ask.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You sometimes, like, it takes a second to process, a question, and it really, your fundamental question was like, where does this drive come from?
Yeah.
And it really, now that I've said everything that I kind of said there, it really, I think, comes down to like something a friend of mine, Ted Sevdali, said, who produced the first Crooked record. And he's like, I think we're all just kind of crazy, like we're all in different ways. There's different levels. And then to add to what he said, like, because he's like, I'm this certain age, like, I don't know why I keep doing this, probably because I'm crazy. I don't know how to do anything else. I love it. And I think there's certain people who get into it because they like the attention. Some people like the social access. Some people just like to be part of a gang, be part of a band, something that's like kind of fun. And then there's some people, I think, who are really in love with the craft and really in love with the music itself, and all they love, probably love all the other stuff too, but like that's just a side combo to the main hamburger, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's we're just in love with the creation, ability to like just make something from nothing, and it doesn't even hurt anybody. You're not exploiting anybody. It's not even necessarily part of the capitalist system. You're just writing a song. It's free to do. Like blues music, even when blues music comes from slavery. Couldn't own anything. They didn't even own themselves, but they could create music. And that's why blues and soul music is so wonderful. It's so powerful because it's a reminder that like that's where that drive comes from to create something. That's that pure love for music.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So going back in time, again, so you said you were given your first guitar. It was a nylon string, like classical. When does JC go to a store and buy himself an electric guitar? And what is it? What does he buy himself?
Oh, do I have it here? I have it here. Yeah, I'll show you it. Where is it? No, I can't show you. It's in another room.
It's in another room. Yeah,
it would be a distraction to go get it. Pretty much. So I've learned that riff, that "Come As You Are" riff on the guitar that my family friend showed me, and then immediately was like to my parents, "Hey, Christmas is coming up. Christmas is coming up. Can I, guitar? Look at this guitar." And they're like, we'll think about it. And they're like, Christmas is getting closer. I'm like bugging them for an electric guitar. Any electric guitar. I don't even know what a good electric guitar is. I don't know about Fender. I don't know about Gibson. I don't know anything. So they're like, yeah, well, I don't know if this is gonna happen. Like, it's expensive. They're loud. Like, you're probably not even gonna, like, you'll forget about it. We'll buy it for you, and you probably won't even. It'll be a fad. Like, you'll forget about it in a month from now. And yeah, so we had a right up to Christmas morning. I was like, okay, opening presents, usual stuff, socks, shirts, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden there was one, and it was like, I thought it was a sock, opened it up. It's a guitar strap. I'm like, I don't know what a guitar strap really looks like. It looks like a belt. I'm a little confused. Yeah. Opening another thing, it's a cable. I'm like, is this an instrument? Like, pulse starts to, the BPM starts to rise. And then, they're like, oh, look under there. I start to find like a little, like, tiny Randall amplifier. And then finally they take me to, I think it was my room or their room. They're like, look under the bed. And they pull it out, and it was a Ibanez Strat copy. Yeah, which
not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad.
Yeah, they bought it at an auction probably around the time I first asked. So they had it for months pretty much, even though I was like begging them. They're like teasing me with it. Yeah, so that became the first guitar. And I love that thing. Awesome. I still ended up giving it to my sister for a bit, and she was trying to learn for a little bit and kind of lost interest. And then I was like, can I have it back? I want that guitar back. So I mostly play Les Paul style guitars or Gretsch. So it's my only Strat like guitar that I have. And I like it because, it's a different sound, play some funky stuff, try to imitate David Gilmour if I can sometimes,
That's cool, man. Yeah. That's a great story. And it's like amazing that you still have that guitar.
Yeah.
I remember being 13 and I like sold my goalie gear because I wasn't growing. And being a goalie was becoming increasingly difficult the shorter I was compared to everyone else. And I just decided I wasn't going to buy more goalie gear because what if I did grow that next year? Never did. But anyways, what if I did, And so instead I was like, I sold my stuff and I went and I bought a guitar and a PV, and I bought like a green Samick, and it sat for a long time. It just
what's a Samick?
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's like, I don't know. It was like, I guess same like a knockoff of a Strat, I think, as well. Okay. Yeah, but like still, it was like, what's a Samick exactly?
Yeah, I've never heard of a Samick,
right? and
maybe it sounds really good. Do you still have it?
No, I wish. And it went through hell and back eventually. But at some point, I think I picked up a chord book that had like the church book that I was given actually, that had when I was like 14 or something, but it had all the chords in it, had chord charts. So it's like, maybe it was like This Little Light of Mine or whatever gospel song, but I could easily learn it, and I didn't have to go on the internet or anything. I had this chord book, and I don't know. It was very helpful in that time in putting certain blocks together. You know what I mean?
I also gotta thank Tabs,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tabs, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
tabs.
exactly. And I mean, I mean, I love it. I love guitar. I do love strumming. I do love writing music with it. But like you said about riffs, like I'm addicted to riffs. And now that I've like over the years, I've had good guitar players, I'm addicted to good riffs. So it's like, I sit down and I try and I'm like, oh, that's horrible. That is not a good riff. No, 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 no. But
Yeah,
like, I like to think I can sit down and listen to riffs and go, ooh, yes, that's a choice riff. Oh, yes. Like I would know. But I like to think I do. Um, and like you said, music is free. We get to do this. We get to explore what we think. So how old is JC when he joins his first band? Is it in high school?
yeah. I mean, what do you define as a band? Like just garage band playing in your garage, or going out and playing shows?
First time you
define?
guys did shows.
Okay. First time. I remember the first show. Well, it's okay. So it was this band. It was originally called the Bellbirds, and this was uh, my buddy Corey Smith, and I can't remember this guy named Nick, I think, on drums. I don't know what happened to him. And back then there was a thing called Supernova shows. I don't know if you've ever heard of Supernova.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we learned about Supernova. We want to do a show. We've been playing in our garage and our bass player's little room there, and then we go sign up for the Supernova thing. We go to pick the day to pick up the tickets. We're supposed to play what used to be called the Cathedral, which was at the Big Bop, which is at Queen and Bathurst. No longer exists. There used to be like 3 floors. The Cathedral, the Reverb, and then Holy Joe's on top, and Cathedral was the bottom one. And so we go to pick up our tickets, and they're like, okay, here's tickets, and if you sell like 30 of them, you pretty much don't get any. Then after that, you make money, and you get like 15 minutes at 4 p.m. or something crazy like that. And we're like, oh, okay, thank you. And we grabbed those tickets, walked out the door, and just threw them in the trash. And then that's it. And then we're like, well, that's not going to be our first show. And then we found a slightly less exploitative promoter who ran shows at the time, and got us a gig literally across the street at this place called Healy's that used to be owned by Jeff Healy. And it was in the basement. And we were playing with this band at the time called Who's Army, who were so good and so like mature and so way ahead of us, and we're like just really enamored by how good they were. And we had our what we thought was the greatest set ever, but we recorded it, looked back on it, and we're like still thought it was the greatest set ever. And then now in retrospect, it's like that's just the first gig. It's not. You're just enamored with the fact that you just did a gig, and we played to a few people. Some high school friends came out. I think we were like 15 or 16 at the time. And
Now,
then,
was that kind of grungy? Like, did it have a style to it, or was it like
no, it's kind of classy actually. It kind of had like a bit of a. I don't know if you've ever been to the Drake Hotel Underground.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like it was a nice vibe. It was
Nice.
Was not grungy at all. I'd say it's Jeff Healy's place,
Yeah.
I know the guy can't see, but he's still, like,
Yeah,
they made it look
yeah.
good.
I think the Arkells jam there, or they did at one point.
Oh yeah. Also, I forget because it's been a while. I guess rest in peace, Jeff Healy, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's okay. There's been all kinds of things written about Jeff, but you could never question his talent. It was absolutely insane.
Whatever it is, I don't want to know. I just want to
just keep that purity, right?
Yeah,
that's the way I feel too. And exactly. Now, let me ask you about. So you said you're like 15, 16. So you went right into this, and you just kept going. You just kept swimming through this. You kept moving, getting better. You noticed the band that was more experienced than you. You probably learned a lot from them.
Yeah. Actually, I reached out to the guitar player not too long ago, And I was like, hey, do you have that record from that band? Because I want to listen to the songs so badly. I remember the songs, but I can't find them online anywhere. And he's like, oh, I got to go through hard drives. I got to go through my garage. So I've been bugging him. I'm going to follow up.
Was there any music teachers in high school or during your life that impacted you? What was high school like for you? Did you know rock music is coming, so I'm a rebel? Or was there, I saw you went to York University, at least for a time, or was there an attitude of like, I'm going to be a doctor and a rock star? Like, what was JC thinking in high school?
Oh, man. So high school, I went to Easter Collegiate in Toronto for 3 years. And it was mostly a predominantly kind of like Geno Beats school, a lot of like Greek Italian kids. So
Okay.
so the outsiders were like rockers and stuff, and there's like little cliques within the rockers as well. There's kind of like these like cool rockers that were really into like 80s metal and smoked pot and stuff, and then some of us were more into different kind of like more eclectic type rock music, and we didn't wear the leather jackets and jean jackets and stuff. We were kind of just like normal kids, you know. So I was more part of that kind of crew, not the cool rocker kids, and not the cool punk skater kids either, and definitely not part of the Geno jock crowd of that place. Yeah, that just, man, it was kind of not cool to be a rocker, I suppose, in that high school. We even played a what was called a gong show.
Okay, yep.
Oh, it was embarrassing, man. Like, it was called the Gong Show. A buddy of mine, Lewis, was really into Led Zeppelin. He turned me on to Led Zeppelin and kind of turned me off to Led Zeppelin because he was way too into Led Zeppelin. And he convinced our little friends group to do a little tribute to Led Zeppelin at the Gong Show. And that's really hard to pull off Led Zeppelin, you know? Like, you need a singer who can sing really high. John Bonham is hard to do. And so I was playing drums on that thing, like, you know, doing the rock and roll intro and stuff. I'm not even very good at drums. Bass player is all right. Our singer, like, you know, he's trying to pull off Robert Plant. We get on stage, we play this thing, and within like 20 seconds, we get gonged, and people are like laughing, and, you know, and just like the hosts come out like, that was terrible, right? Everyone just laughs. It was like it was a nightmare. But luckily, I was just the drummer, you know, so it wasn't as embarrassing for me. My poor friend Andrew, who got set up to sing Robert Plant's rock and roll, you know, had a hard time hitting the notes because it's Robert Plant, right?
Yeah.
Nobody understands that. Like, all the kids there, most of them don't know what Led Zeppelin is or who Led Zeppelin is. Robert Plant, never heard the song, not into it. They just enjoyed the Gong Show. So
yeah, it's just an opportunity to laugh.
Yeah, and then I had a girlfriend at the time that transferred to a more artsy high school, and I kind of followed her there, and it was all just like really artsy, out there students. Music teacher who was a legend, this guy named Mr. Hayes. I don't remember his first name. He was a legend. He was gray haired, but he had long gray hair. He knew everything about music. Everyone respected him suddenly. Like, everyone was lots of respect for that guy. And I was transferring to their high school, and you have to audition to go to it because it's an arts school. And I met with the teacher, Mr. Hayes, and he's like, "Can you sight read? Can you do that?" I was like real musician stuff. I'm like, not really. But he's like, "Here's a book. Buy this book. Learn it over the summer. You'll be fine. You can play guitar. Learn how to sight read over the summer." And there was no audition. And then the next year, by the time I got to that high school, he already retired. So yeah. So but it was cool. It was a cool experience. Very, very different from the other high school. And I ended up taking a victory lap because I didn't feel musically prepared to go to York University, where I decided that I wanted to study jazz guitar, you know, kind of going full circle to the father thing, where like I had my biological father is a very talented jazz musician. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm a guitar player. I love music in general. I want I want to be able to push it as far as I can go. Like, I want to know more about music. I love jazz music. I love blues music. I want to see what, like, I can do this for a living. I can be this great musician. And then I went to York University and I absolutely hated it. Like, I learned a lot of stuff. Like, there's some really cool courses, lectures. I learned a lot about harmony and chords and a lot of theory. But I hated the institution. I also was a year older. Even though it was just 1 year, it felt like these kids were a lot less mature for some reason. A year for some reason made a big difference. And I didn't like it. It was also expensive, going into debt to go to school. And then I was like, you know what? No, man, like, I'm rock and roller. I want to play in a band. I got to get my band going. I got to play shows. I want to be on tour. I got to make this happen. It's not going to happen by being at York University, learning, playing bebop scales and the stuff like that I like, but I'm not in love with. So yeah. And then
Cool.
Eventually did 2 years of that. And, I moved downtown, moved to Queen Street with my band at the time, actually. And that lasted about a year until our very talented but no drive singer decided he wanted to become a male model. Yeah.
Oh, he sounds like a vocalist. He sounds like a singer.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. Again, what drives people, right? For him, it was, in retrospect, felt like, a little bit of community mixed with family.
Yeah.
Your band is your family, and we live together on top of that. And he great songwriter too, and great voice, but he didn't have the drive to be like, oh, I want to make this my life. This is kind of just a hobby. And the rest of us were really serious. Like, we, put all our money into it. We slept, we breathed it. I would go out to shows, I meet people, be part of the scene, go to people's shows. Like, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah. Which band was that? Which one was that?
This was called Savannah.
So that was Savannah, and you went from Savannah into Secret Broadcast?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
And then into Dearly Beloved?
No. And then, so like I mentioned Keith Hepler earlier. I met him in Secret Broadcast. Secret Broadcast was signed to E1 Canada at the time. So it was the first time I was also playing for a signed band. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I got into the band, they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll be back in a month. We're going to Seattle to record with legendary producer Adam Casper. I was like, oh, that sucks. I don't get to go, but I understand. I'm just joined the band. They don't know who I am, or, I'm not really part of this. So, but I stuck with it for a while. I learned a lot. They got to go on the road with these guys all over Canada and play some cool shows. And then I actually met Rob Higgins from Dearly Beloved at some sort of agency show at Canadian Music Week. It was the first time I met them and their band. And I also became totally a big fan of that band, Dearly Beloved. They were so cool. And then I realized, oh, that's Geddy Lee's nephew. No wonder, like Rob Higgins is like the guy on bass. No wonder. Right. So that was like, Secret Broadcast was my in to that world.
Okay.
And then we started playing shows with some other bands, and then like Die Mannequin, and I got to meet Care. I already kind of knew Care here and there from Queen Street and seeing her DJ at bars, and I think my band Savannah played with her in Hamilton one time, but we were never super close. And then I guess the rest of the Die Mannequin band members left, or she fired them. I can't remember what happened. And the first thing that made sense was Keith Hepler was up for drums, because Die Mannequin was on E1 Canada, so was Secret Broadcast. So he's like, it was an easy switch for him. And then they were looking for a guitar player, and I came up, and I was like, yes, of course. I remember listening to Die Mannequin in high school, and I remember when my band got to open for Die Mannequin being like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And now I'll get to audition, and, obviously nailed the audition and got the gig, and that's it. And then that was the first thing that Care told us, okay, guys, first tour is we're going to open for Marilyn Manson. So
I was going to
okay.
ask you, I on my notes here, I've got written down like, bands that Care got to open for, the Die Mannequin open for, I should say. And like, I saw Marilyn Manson and you got to be a part of that.
Yeah, that was so cool. We we did like one headlining show. It was in Calgary. That was the first real show, because the only time we played together publicly, it was for 102.1 The Edge. There's some like live acoustic thing where Care's playing some songs from the new Die Mannequin record at the time, Neon Zero. And then the first show we did was in Calgary, and then third show was some arena in BC. I think it was like Penticton. I'm pretty sure it was Penticton.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like massive crowd. I brought like an amp that was just massive, like two 4x12 cabs. Just turned it up way too loud, unnecessarily loud. All you could hear on the stage was my guitar, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I don't have to do that. I know it's just an arena, but it's still like there's such thing as a stage volume on an arena show. And and then it was so fun. My buddy Keith got really drunk that night and like was having a blast signing stuff. Like people were like acting like we were rock stars, even though like they had no idea who we are. Like, people kind of knew who Care was, but
you are a rock star. It's just, once again, you have humility and you have perspective and you're on a journey. And I'll be honest with you, JC, I don't think you'd be satisfied, even if you were at, you're right. Care Failure is an absolute rock legend. And the fact you got to work with her and be a part of that, I think it's really special. Every band you were a part of, very special. I'm not taking away from anything you were a part of, because I know they're all unique experiences with different dynamics, but you did work with a legend. You really did.
Yeah, man. I remember the first time being on stage with her. It was so surreal. It was like, it felt like going to war with like state of the art weapon or something. You look to your left and you're just seeing this person from that perspective. You're like, oh, this is what it looks like from this perspective. But you don't even think about it because you're in your own character too. You're doing your job, and you're like, I have to be as good, or I have to get as close because we are part of this unit, and I'm a reflection of Care's greatness too.
Yeah.
So that really, really helped change my perspective on just the drive and my drive and what I want to do with music. But everybody goes through a form of imposter syndrome at some point, and everybody, even Care at times, right? But I remember that first show we did, the arena show, and we were like having a little cheers right before we got on the stage, and she's like, you guys deserve to be here, all of you guys. Like, I thank you so much she was thanking us, we're like, it's crazy because it feels like you shouldn't be there,
I get it. I get what you're saying. I was talking with Mike Raymond on here, and he's the guitar tech for City and Color. And I was just telling him, like, he's also does his own music and all that. And I was just saying, like, that's amazing that they trust you, like that you're trusted with that night in, night out to take care of things, and you get to experience it. And like you talked about the imposter syndrome, like, we're so hard on ourselves. He was still like, yeah, but some nights it still feels like I'm living in someone else's dream. Mm-hmm. And it brought me back in my mind to the Dave Chappelle thing where he said, that thing about we're all in our own movie. We're all that leading character in our own movie, but sometimes we don't understand that about other people. And we look at them and we forget, like, oh no, they're in their own movie too. Like, they're leading their own story as well.
Oh man. Yeah, that's okay. You know what you said right there? That's what it felt like being on stage with Care for the first time. It felt like, wait, I'm a supporting cast in this. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool, man, that you were brought.
That tour was magical. Like that was, I also saw Dynamic many times. I saw the early version, which was the trio with Pat and Tony, and that was, if anyone looks up, the MTV Masonic Temple show, that's probably my favorite Dynamic because it was like those were my favorite songs, like the stuff I listened to in high school from Dynamic, and they sounded really good. But I think our version of the band was the tightest, like just the best production. The best, just so well put together because all of us, Keith, myself, Kevy, who also is a professional as well. Like we're coming from it, like from a different perspective than the other guys. And, and then, so it was that tour. You're playing the same songs every night, the same set. You're just at that point, every step. Like Kara had a choreography kind of thing. Like you knew exactly where she was going to be at certain parts of the song. Like things didn't change. So every little detail got honed in on every night, and not through practice. Like nobody told anybody like, hey, you need to do this. We just all clicked in a way that was just absurdly tight. And it was a very fun, rambunctious tour. There was a lot of like fun stuff going on and a lot of drinking. And even then, I recorded most of every set every night just because I want to. It's an unbelievable experience. I want to make sure I can document as much as I can. And I would look back on certain shows that I barely remember playing, and we're like still so tight. I was like, yes, this is the real deal right here. This is the real deal. This is what everybody wants to be a part of, where it's like a bunch of people in their prime playing like the stuff to their fullest potential, even within the confines of the rock and roll lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds incredible. And I know that you learned so much from that. And then you're able to take that forward in with you, that professionalism that you learned. And another guest I had on here, he spoke about how touring kind of ruined him. Not ruined him, but like emotionally wrecked him and took him a while to kind of recover after touring. Did you find that touring had any kind of impact on you, or was it generally a great experience?
No, I experienced that for sure. I understood it. I always thought it was like, oh, is this kind of a cliche? Someone comes back and they don't really know what to do with their lives afterwards. And yes, it's a real thing, 100%, because in the chaos of touring, there's actually a lot of order. You're going into a van, you have a schedule, you're limited in what you're going to eat. You're pretty much doing a lot of the similar things all the time. You get back home and you're like, I got to do groceries. I got to like walk my dog. Like, I got to like, what am I doing for work? Like just the eating part. It's like, oh, like I have to cook again and stuff. Like first week I came back, I was still eating out and stuff because that's just what I got used to. All my routines were non-existent at that point. I was trying to replicate that. Also, you're going through a bit of a detox too, unless you come home and you can try to continue the party. So your dopamine levels are not where they should be. And there's all these accumulative factors that, lead people to feel a little down afterwards because you're back to the mundane everyday life. Meanwhile, on tour, especially some tours some tours are not fun. Some tours are a lot of fun. Coming back from the fun ones where you're meeting people every day, just feels like you're every day living an alternate reality, and you're going to escape from all the bullshit of everyday life. And then you're back and you're like, just immortal again. It's
what you're describing right now. I haven't experienced touring the way that you have. I'm jealous, or I look up to you and I go, wow, that's so amazing. All the touring you've got to do. Like, that's something I wish and I would love to do. but I totally relate to going into this other world, like for Blues Fest or whatever, and signing autographs or whatever it is, driving around in a golf cart. You're having the time of your life, and it's another world. It's another reality. And then the next day, it's like, oh, no. That was not real.
Yeah,
This is was
it's like you ever had a really good dream? You know, you're dreaming and like maybe you're hanging out with someone you haven't seen in a while. Maybe they passed, whatever.
yeah.
You're having a great dream. You wake up and you realize, oh, okay, you know, like that's not the reality. This is real life. This is you gotta start worrying about deep inside somewhere in there. You gotta be like, okay, like, do I have to eventually care about buying a house? Like, do I have to get a real career? Like, you suppress that down because you're like, no, like touring and music and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then eventually, you know, retirement. You're gonna get old. You're gonna get old. We're all gonna die. We're all just a bunch of clay, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Totally, I get it.
Yeah.
So after Die Mannequin, well, you're on there on the Wikipedia from 2015 till 2023. And
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, that's trippy to be on.
I know, but it's not. I don't know who puts that information. It's not super accurate. Like a lot of those years was Care dealing with health issues and trying to write a record, rewriting a record, producing a record, not producing a record, health stuff. So there's a last show I think I played with her was in 2018 or something like that. It was at Bovine Sex Club, which I think you guys have played as well.
Yeah.
Small little show that Cone from Sum 41 was putting together. And so yeah, I'd see her here and there, but you know, the band wasn't really active.
Yeah.
You know, it came to a point where all of us were like, we want you to get healthy. We all genuinely cared about her. I think she was surrounded her whole life around people who used her talent, just wanted to keep the show going. And, you know, I understand that being part of it, you always want to keep the show going. But I just, you know, I really wanted to see her just have a normal year, you know, just one normal year where she could have just been a normal person for a little bit of time. And that was hard when she passed because we always felt like she was invincible, you know, like we always joked that like nuclear war would break out and Care would still be going because she seemed indestructible. No matter like what was going on with her issues and stuff, she always pulled it off. She always managed to do it. And then ironically enough, going to deal with health issues, she passed, and it didn't seem fair. You know, I was really, the movie, being in her movie was like, this is bad writing. You know, this is not the way it's supposed to end. Like she should have had a comeback story.
Yeah.
She should have had the ability, you know, like I want to see this movie one day. I want to be with Care in the front row, or I'll take the second row, you know, and see her look up at that and be proud, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately we did not get to see that. And that's again, like coming back home from touring. It's like, it's real life. It's not a rock and roll book. Unfortunately, we live in a world of random chance, and I can't always explain the synchronicities that occur in life, but life is not fair, unfortunately. And rest in peace, Care. And I feel for her family still. So yeah.
Thanks for speaking on that, JC. And I think again, you learned so much there, and you're a big part of that story, regardless. And especially you're a big part because you did care, because you did decide you genuinely wanted this person to do better. You wanted them to get better. Let's talk about Saint Doval, because this is your new baby. This is your new project. And we talked about bands having breakups, bands having different issues. Is the name Saint Doval, is this like a way of you saying like, this is mine, it's not going anywhere, this is where I'm going to plant my feet?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of, I've been working on these songs for a while. Some of them are years in the making. Some of them were supposed to be Crooked songs. Some Moonlight that just came out was a song that I wrote almost like 10 years ago, and it just never fit anything I was doing. I didn't have a project that it fit in. I was touring with these bands. I didn't have a thing to put in. Crooked happened. I was like, this is not crooked. It's not, it's a little too pretty to be crooked. So it's just got shelved. And, so I had all these songs, and I knew that I eventually would probably get into it. I was still a little hesitant because pandemic hit, band broke up, seeing a lot of, division in society, seeing a lot of not great times for artists, seeing like all this crazy stuff happening with AI, trying to figure out like, I've tasted blood. I know what it's like to be in a successful band.
Yeah.
A few of them, right? Signed and stuff. And it's like, and you realize that being in a band is kind of like being on a ship that is leaking water. It's just all of them, just like us, we're all dying. Everything has an expiration date. And so I was like, do I really want to get into it? Do I want to build a boat or do I patch up the crooked boat? Like, there's equity there. People know us, like, well, the songs and the ideas is me anyway, but like I said before, I just didn't seem right. So, so a lot of, while I was working on some of these songs, a lot of it was like, what do I name this thing? Is it going to be crooked? Or maybe I had some other names that was just like run scenario, simulations in my head, kind of like, what would it look like? What did it sound like? And then I was like, should it just be JC Sandoval? I was like, I don't know. Cause like, what if I want to do like cover gigs and stuff? I want to like try to make some money doing covers and stuff, which I do occasionally. I don't want to get entangled with that. And it's like, am I doing these songs or is it cover songs? Just seemed a bit messy. And I don't know, it felt just a little too personal. So, at some point I was like, there's gotta be a happy medium. So my name is JC Sandoval. And I was like, like, how about something with kind of my name, but not really. So then Doval, I like that. It sounds like Doval. It sounds a little bit more mature and kind of where I am trying to be at in my life musically. And big fan of St. Vincent. And I don't know if you ever listen to St. Vincent, great artist. And I was like, she's a saint. It has nothing to do with Christianity or anything like that.
No.
But not that there's anything wrong with that. But I was like, I want to be on Team Good. I want to like use the experience that I have and things that I've learned and my perspective. I want that to be reflective in the songs. I want it to be reflective in the name. I want it to all kind of flow from the same soul. And it's whichever one belongs in this meat puppet. So yeah, Saint Doval it is. Yeah, Saint Doval. And it feels good. I knew once I was like, because I had some other names and I was like, I don't know, it feels weird. You don't know until you really put it out and you're like, no, makes sense. Saint Doval.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great name. And I mean, look, you could have gone with, you were saying it's not Christian. That's fine. Imagine if you had gone with Jesus Christ Sandoval, and you said that's what the JC stands for,
Yeah.
But
sometimes it's good to just let people fill in information with their own imagination. Like if the Christian rock community wants to get behind my work, that's fine. I'm not saying anything diabolical, but I'm not trying to preach anything. My music's really just like, I just want to share the way I hear and see the world. And, I'm going back to, being Costa Rican and Canadian, being from a place that uh, doesn't have an army. It believes in diplomacy, and then Canada, which is supposed to be built on the ideals of peacekeeping, and that's part of who I am as well. So, yeah, again, want to be on Team Good. I want to be able to relate on some level to the music. I don't want to divide anyone unless I really have to. But
Moonlight's a beautiful song. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoy the lyrics. I enjoy the melody. I got vibes of course, some Pearl Jam to me coming through. I got some Beatles coming through.
Oh, okay, cool.
A little bit of Days of the New, like definitely that stuff from that Seattle hub. I could see this song fitting right in. In with those guys and with that style of music, because it's really beautiful, and I think you did a great job. The video, I enjoyed it too. I thought it gave a nice 90s vibe. I thought that was really nice. So there's going to be a full album coming out, right?
Yeah, it's going to be 6 or 7 songs. Who knows, maybe 8 if I can come up with some more money for it. But yeah, it's the first track is a bit of a Trojan horse, It's like this is really pretty thing, kind of reminiscent of 90s, inspired by also my time living up in Collingwood as well. I lived up in Collingwood a little post-pandemic time. That's where I shot the video as well. Collingwood, Ontario is near Blue Mountain, for people who don't know where that is. It's like a ski resort town. And it's very pretty up there. So it kind of made sense to release that first. It's felt like, here's something not very threatening. Here's the more beautiful side of things that I like and I like to do. And then I'm gonna try to hit people with some hard truths about some things. I get a song on the record that deals with how we can't afford shit. Our generation's kind of fucked, and that goes back to the tradition of rock music being able to tell truth to power and say like, hey, this is where, there's reason for this angst. Not songs that just reflect of how I feel or how I've been feeling for a bit of time. And, I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I'm hoping that people listen to it and are like, oh, this is cool, but what is he saying? You know what? Like, yeah, okay, I understand.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it. And yeah, people can pre-order the album and they can support the album as well. And I'll put the links below. And
yes, please. Yeah.
And also, there's going to be a show Friday, December 13th at Supermarket.
That's right. Supermarket is in Kensington Market in Toronto. It's on Friday the 13th, the day apparently that Judas betrayed Jesus, I think.
That's true. I think so. I think so.
Me and my buddy Francesco were talking about that. Francesco is a buddy of mine who I moved in to the neighborhood. He played in this band called Lucid Movement, and we've been recording a bunch of stuff for his project. And I'm producing his record, and he's playing guitar in my project now in Sandoval. He's going to be playing live as well. And he was telling me about the Friday the 13th thing. Because I was like, what's with Friday the 13th? So it's a great day to have a show because you can get into people's heads. Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th. You can't forget. Yeah.
It's true. I like it. December, Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
you got to go see Sandoval. And
it rolls off the tongue perfectly.
Yeah. And go stream Moonlight. And watch the video. Get ready for the new music that's coming. Get into the Crooked. We the Crooked. Yeah. You can find some great music there. Of course, we talked about Dearly Beloved, Savannah, Secret Broadcast, Die Mannequin. We talked about a fantastic career so far in music and a journey that's ongoing. And I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to listen to what's next. And I'm proud to be in your movie as a character walking on by.
Yeah.
and walking down the street and waving. I think you're doing great, man, and you're kicking ass.
It's nice to be in each other's movies for sure. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with us. I really appreciate it so much.
Yeah. By the way, sorry to interrupt your outro here. There, one of my favorite albums right behind you, that Inner Vision Stevie Wonder record.
Oh yeah.
We talked a lot about rock music, but Stevie Wonder is one of my favorites, and
gosh.
that's a whole other episode, I think.
Yeah,
So,
the vastness of music and the inspirations that we have are like so wild now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just, it is another episode, and we will have JC back on again. Maybe we will just talk albums. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes, because you're killing it. Who knows where this is going?
Thanks, brother. I just say thank you so much to JC Sandoval. Thank you out there for watching. We'll see you all again next time on All Worn Out. Bye-bye, everybody.